The Islamic slave trade spanned roughly 1,400 years, beginning in the 7th century with the rise of Islam and continuing into the 20th century. This trade, across North Africa, the Middle East, and parts of Asia, involved millions of Africans, Europeans, and other non-Muslims being taken as slaves. Key periods include the Trans-Saharan and Indian Ocean trades, where Africans were enslaved and transported to the Middle East and beyond. In contrast, the European transatlantic slave trade began in the early 16th century and lasted until the 19th century, approximately 300 years. From around 1500 to 1807, European powers like Britain, Spain, Portugal, and France enslaved and transported over 12 million Africans to the Americas, where they worked primarily in plantations. The British Empire abolished the slave trade in 1807, followed by full emancipation in 1833, while the US ended its practice with the 13th Amendment in 1865. Though the European transatlantic trade receives much attention for its brutality and scale, the Islamic trade also played a significant historical role, often operating through long-distance routes and lasting for centuries longer. However, its legacy is less discussed in mainstream historical narratives. Both systems were rooted in economic gain and had devastating effects on African populations. In 1833, the British government passed the Slavery Abolition Act, which freed over 800,000 enslaved people across the British Empire. To compensate slave owners for the loss of their property, the government borrowed 20 million, a colossal sum at the time, equivalent to nearly 40% of the national budget. This debt was one of the largest in British history and wasn't fully paid off until 2015. British taxpayers, therefore, contributed to repaying this loan for nearly 182 years, long after the end of slavery. So you see, we have all paid the debts for slavery already. Has Islam paid anything?